What's up? What's up? What is up? Welcome to another Friday and another opportunity to record what is the experience known as internationally and domestically appreciated as the Ball Hog Sports Talk. We are the crew. We are in the building, and today's episode is going by the title of No Brainer. And we're going to get to exactly what that means and why we chose that. I am coming from the Hall of Fame room of Montclair State University. That's right, the Athletic Hall of Fame room. You see my man Sam Mills right there, a New Jersey legend. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be with the crew for the Ball Hog Sports Talk. I'm honored to bring you the no-brainer episode of the Ball Hog Sports Talk. You can imagine that we're going to talk about a few things, but if you hear the term no-brainer, when it's used informally and casually, it refers to something that requires minimum thought, right? Just a minimum thought. You don't think of it. It'd be kind of like, duh, it's a no-brainer. And today we're going to talk about a few of those things, how sports, business, and entertainment, no-brainers affected us this week and affected a lot of other people. So stay with us, stay tuned. It is the experience that is known as the Ball Hog Sports Talk coming to you right now. So let's go.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Cause this is the Ball Hog Sports Talk with your boy, B Brown, ESQ, aka the Ball Hog, aka the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're gonna give it to you rough, rugged, and raw. So come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go, 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 go.
The crew is in the building. I said where I'm coming from, the Montclair State University Athletic Hall of Fame room, but we have from the Central Time Zone none other than our guy, the Big Flow Show. What's up, my brother?
What's good with you? What's good, America? It's about to be wintertime in Chicago. They cut the heat off last week. So, I'm sweatshirted up, trying to get my hoodie season, as they like to say.
Hoodie season. They skip right over fall in Windy City, huh? They just go, ain't no fall.
We just go right
summer
right to winter. Easier that way. It's easier that way.
Oh, I'm just going to tuck mine in. Heck with that fall
man.
stuff.
It gets right. But we'll be all right.
And joining me also from the East Coast, our own ETP Ellis, the producer. What's up, my brother?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time zone. Everything good over here.
We're trying to get all of them time zones, man. Before we start, I do want to at least take an opportunity to, I don't want to do a moment of silence, but just recognize all the victims of the Hurricane Ian. There down in Florida on the West Coast, there were homes ravished, lives upended, and to see such an amazing force of nature when it comes to a hurricane, man, it shows you just how fragile and how precious life is, and in an instance, things can be changed immediately. So we want to send our prayers and just our good vibes and good thoughts to those who were victims of Hurricane Ian. We wish you nothing but the best as people try to put their lives back together. And then we let's hop in, man, because this episode is entitled No Brainer. And it's entitled No Brainer for several reasons, but the most central reason to the title is last night's game. Last night's game, Thursday Night Football, where we'll get to the uniform selection because I like both uniforms, but I couldn't even pay attention to the uniforms because in live action, man, on our televisions, we saw something that seemed to be next level tragedy. We saw Tua Tagovailoa. I tried to say his last name. I always mess it up. But this quarterback went out there, and 5 days after, it was thought to have been some event that created brain trauma, which the team said was more of a back issue. 5 days later, he's out there. He gets tackled. And yes, the defensive lineman did sling him down, but he didn't even hit his head first. He hit his elbow first. But the impact itself resulted in this man looking paralyzed on the field with his fingers, extremities in a very unnatural position. And now we're discussing it. This episode of No Brainer just seems to me it was a no-brainer that indeed last week that was a concussion to see him stagger that way. And to me, we call this no-brainer because to me it's like a no-brainer. He needed to go through the steps of the protocol, and yet he was out there. And it seemed as though when people are doing the research on CTE, and this is I want to make sure we discuss it here because coaching youth football, you see moms, dads, they're all nervous about the concussion, and we all should be. But for me, the real nerve-wracking thing is, and the science has proven it, is that if you do get a concussion, you can't expose your brain to any more trauma for a certain amount of time. It's the back-to-back trauma. And so here we are, man. If you don't mind, ETP, let's show last week's play because that was the one that was in question as to whether or not he was concussed. And I'm not a neuroscientist. What do you say? Whatever the word is, that shows you I'm not it. But I do recognize concussions.
Look at how the sorry to make it so the mic, but you couldn't say his last name. Look at how the caption is. Comes in and Tua Tagovailoa. They're like, look, man.
Sound it out. Use your
Tua
vowels.
Tagovailoa. I got that. My bad.
Go ahead, man.
I always find
you don't mind if you can show that to us.
I'm immature, y'all. I'm sorry. I stayed in the house. Yeah.
All right, so this is the clip. This is from last week's game, or actually Sunday's game against Buffalo.
The pass rusher came on top of him there, and Tagovailoa suffered some type of an injury on this play. We have Teddy Bridgewater in the game right now. Tagovailoa, oh boy, getting up. Oh, my goodness. That's an awful sight to see. They will take him to the sideline immediately. Oof.
I just want to play that last piece again.
Awful sight to see. They will take him to the sideline immediately.
So look, and look, I know the Dolphins are going to be public enemy number one today, as the pundits, ourselves included, discuss it, and just stay tuned, Dolphins, because we are going to take issue with the organization and them putting that man out there and making him susceptible to what seemed to be not one but two incidents of severe brain trauma. We're going to get to that. But the Dolphins ain't alone. In this episode of No Brainer, it's a no-brainer that, first of all, as an NFL player, you've been doing this for so long that's what you do. It's the equivalent of a boxer being knocked out, but he's going to get back up and he's going to want to fight. That's why they have a referee in there to call the fight. It's a no-brainer that indeed for an organization that is built on, it's a $1 billion empire, this NFL thing, that organization within that $1 billion empire, the Miami Dolphins, their only goal is to make money. There's no moral aspect to it. Yes, they might have morally upstanding people within their organization, but the organization itself is a business. It's a no-brainer that they're going to want the number one quarterback on the field. And I just wish that the medical professionals, and this is my challenge with the NFL, this has been my challenge for a long time, the NFL in each of its organizations, it hires medical staff. Those people, the medical staff, people that I'm referring to, often have a conflict of interest because the Miami Dolphins want Tua on the field. The medical professionals that are in charge with watching over Tua that work for the Miami Dolphins, I think are conflicted in certain situations. Yes, you can get an independent opinion. And yes, the new NFL concussion protocol requires there to be someone that is considered to be independent to look at the player. But what we saw over the last several days, in 6 days, we saw a man concussed that the player himself said was more of a back injury, and the team, no brainer, because they understand that if you say it's a concussion, you enter the protocol. If you enter the protocol, that means you got to take some really rigid steps. The protocol of the on the field incident, and then the protocol of when you can be back on the field. 2 different steps. Because they said it was a back injury, he never had to undergo the protocol of making it back onto the field. And to me, it's a no-brainer because it's conflicted. To me, it's a no-brainer because the natural instincts of a football player is to go out there and play football, be available for my team, take one for the team. There is no way that Tua can appreciate at the ripe young age of however old he is, 25, 26 years old. He can't appreciate. While concussed, there's no way he can appreciate the ramifications of CTE 20 years from now. So it's a no-brainer that Tua would say, nah, man, it was my back. It's a no-brainer that Dolphins would add fuel to the fire and support that lie. It's a no-brainer that the medical staff that works for the Miami Dolphins would make sure that the story was concocted such that they didn't let the world know that they were exposing him to these dangers. And now it's a no-brainer that the Miami Dolphins, the NFL, and its concussion protocol are going to undergo strict scrutiny and take this heat. It was sad to see a young man put literally his life on the line for what? For what? A game?
Best
what do you
record
guys
they've had in years. I mean, it's just it's what you expect. At the end of the day, they put all these things out, ejecting guys in college and doing a lot of different things to show the game being safer. But at the end of the day, Miami Dolphins were hot. Tua was hot. Throwing touchdowns. We got to have him. This is our year. Tua wants to play. Everybody wants to see him play. Figure he'd be all right. Maybe he did pass concussion protocol and they tell him he could go. Maybe he seemed like he was, we've seen it in boxing. Somebody gets knocked and get their legs are jelly and then come back and win the fight and have a post-game interview and sound fine. Sometimes I think your body might bounce back. What scared me was neither one of those hits was the craziest hit I've ever seen. Right? They hit the ground. I know the ground is undefeated, but neither one of those is crazy. You start wondering, was there something else even before that? Because the second time, I feel like his hand, if you look at it, his hand is locking up before he hits the ground.
There is a heightened sensitivity to the trauma because the brain is first of all, the human body is an amazing thing, but the brain is taught to protect itself. So there's a heightened sensitivity to the trauma. Absolutely.
But I've never seen the hand do that. That's scary. I've been trying to do my hand like that on my own. I can't do it. I had talked to a concussion specialist, Dr. Brian Babka, this morning. He's in Chicago, and he told me that's called fencing. Whatever happened to his brainstem because he was completely knocked out and his brainstem was taken up. See that when you start talking to me like that, we're beyond football, right? My brainstem has to kick in because the brain is not available. I'm not interested in all that. He needs to sit the year. I mean, let's just take a deep breath. Bridgewater will be all right. Let him take the year. They're saying, it'll probably be a month and a half type injury, but it puts everything in perspective when you see that.
The fact that those guys were able to go back out there on that field, Teddy Bridgewater included, to continue playing football is just a tip the hat to the courage that it takes to play the game. And we're built a certain being football players in general, but we're built a certain way. But last night felt different to see that young man on the field that way. And I know they say that he has his faculties are okay and extremities, he's able to move now, but it felt as though the air was not only out of the stadium, but out of the country because we saw right before our eyes. It was a no-brainer. The kids should not be out there. We all knew it. ETP, I don't know if you had anything to add to it, but it felt like it, football in general has taken a really big punch in the gut when it comes to our reputation in this country. And I thought, and I have said publicly, I've articulated to parents that have asked me whether or not they believe the game is too dangerous. I've said that the rules are changing, that the equipment is becoming safer, and that the science behind certain things, concussions especially, has gotten so much better that we know not to expose players to the subsequent version of trauma, which will protect players from long-term CTE. All of that felt like it went out the window yesterday because everyone knew Tua shouldn't have been out there. Something felt illmatic about it. ETP, I don't know if you had to add anything to it, but it felt like a no-brainer that we were seeing the most selfish display of corporate greed imaginable, because QB1 had to be out there because they were 3-0. QB1 had to be out there because they're in prime time on Thursday night game. But QB1 was still suffering from what was a traumatic event to his brain.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like your point about parents' perception of the sport and how there are a lot of precautions taken and improvements to protection and safety to an extent that doesn't erode the entertainment of the game. But this issue isn't really like, to Big Flo's point, these weren't hits. Like, it wasn't like he was exposed in a way because of the rules of the game and he took some really insane or extreme hit or collision. I think the challenge is it all really kind of comes down to the evaluation and the treatment that comes off the field, right? So the game is obviously taking a lot of precautions to improve the safety for the players. At the end of the day, it's still a violent sport. I watch it now. I didn't play anywhere near the pro level, but I watch it now and I question why I played when I was younger because of how dangerous it is. But at the end of the day, it's a great sport. It's great to watch. It's great to play. There's a lot of value in it from my perspective. But this issue is, the guy hit the ground, got pushed to the ground, and he's stumbling like as if he took, a Mike Tyson, hook uppercut combo in the first round in the 90s, right? Like there was just not the impact that you expected on the field. So the issue is they clearly evaluated him, and it's a question of, I think about the movie Any Given Sunday, where they talked about the business decisions that were made in the training room and putting players back on the field and shooting them up with certain medications and all of this for the sake of the entertainment / revenue value of the game. So even to this point, it'll be interesting to see what they say in terms of the results of whatever he's been inflicted with. But ultimately,
they lost all credibility though.
But I just mean even the hospital that they brought him to. But the challenge with CTE is it's a delay. Like you can't, unless they're going to do open brain surgery, there's no way to really understand that. But there's clearly something neurologically deficient or damaged with him that somehow is not really being addressed in a serious way, whether it's intentional for the sake of, entertainment, or there's just deficiency in medical technology, or he's just like, I'm going out there and I'm going to play and signing waivers and going about his business. I don't know.
Right.
That I would be if that finally signed a waiver, that'd ruin the NFL. You know what I mean? If that ever came out that he signed a waiver to go out there and play and they allowed that,
why? I don't think it would ruin the NFL. Look, the NFL is the culmination.
That even is a possibility that you could sign away the rights to your future.
It wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time. Here, Big Flo Show. I just think that the NFL is the culmination of sports business and entertainment. ETP, you said it whether or not the rationale behind it or motivation was the entertainment. I would say yes, it was. Was it because of the sport? They give him a better chance to win with Tua. Yes, it was. But ultimately, the core of all of those is the business behind the NFL. And you're saying that it would ruin the NFL. And I'm not certain that it would, only because the business model is that. It's business. And other players have done it. The fact that Terrell Owens had to sign that waiver to go out and play in the Super Bowl, we all heard about it and sort of celebrated his courage and his commitment to the team to go out there and play. And that same NFL, and I know it's not necessarily like apples to apples in terms of who makes the decision, but the same NFL more broadly prevented him from being a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think that the business of it and its inability to recognize humanity of the players that make up the business is just it's because it's a business. There aren't humans necessarily. Yes, there are human beings making the decision, but they're making them based on business motivated decisions. It's the culmination of sports business entertainment. So even if we find out that Tua signed a waiver, while it might be upsetting, I don't think it necessarily takes away from this. I won't call it all powerful and untouchable, but it's a pretty powerful business. And
but there's a difference between saying, okay, I'm going out there with a broken leg and I'm going to sign the waiver that if something happens to my leg, worst case scenario, Terrell's out, his leg is messed up, he's got a limp the rest of his life. A lot of us have limps. Tua, who's in a state of should have been concussion protocol, they snuck him back into a game. They said that he had a back injury, and if they find out that he signed a waiver, it's like you signed a waiver while being drunk. You had a concussion, and you signed a waiver with your future rights for your brain. If they put that out there, they're the devil reincarnate. I mean, I don't care what you. I mean, like that's the most diabolical thing.
That's what it would take. But it took a lot of steps to get there because I think look, even having Terrell Owens go out there with that doggone leg. Look. All I'm saying
is so much,
but that's different because this whole thing. I mean, there was a whole, but the whole thing with the brain injury issue. CTE. I mean, regardless of death, right? Like CTE is untraceable or undetectable until death, right? And so, just the idea of anybody signing away their rights to protection against this. You're not like I'm at risk of breaking my leg or further breaking my leg. Like this is an issue that it was a scandal that the whole NFL had to deal with, 10, 15 years ago. That's a sensitive topic. So the whole head injury, brain injury concept is something that's a third rail for the NFL. And then to basically say, I am signing away my right to protection of what we do know, while there's also an infinite amount of what we do not know medically of what the impact of this is going to be, is that's an irresponsible approach. But I'd be interested to see like what the boxing world has to do, because I'm sure you have to have some level of liability waiver to take, straight jabs to the face for, 36 minutes.
The problem is, I'm glad you brought up the UFC world. Boxing. The boxing thing, I'm glad about it. UFC has it right, though, because as soon as you look like you're in any sort of duress, they stop the fight. In boxing, you got the standing 8. You see, but we've seen people do kind of weirdness, like with whatever that fencing thing they call it, with boxing a lot, and we're almost numb to it. But something about boxing world is like, raise your hand if you know a guy who's a boxer, like a professional boxer. Like boxing people come out of areas that we don't really notice. You know what I mean? We think about football and basketball having people coming from the inner city playing, but boxing comes from other places from that, like the places that we don't even realize.
The back corners of the inner
city. Back corner.
You don't even know where the boxing
gym is. When you live in the hood, where your mama tell you not to go, that's where the people from the box come from, right? Nobody puts their kids out there to box. So we don't even think about them anymore. So when they get knocked out like that, it's like whatever. But they come back. You know it, but the thing, like back with the Tua thing, how many times you see a guy like Roy Jones when he got knocked out the first time, it seemed like he had a loose button from that point forward. Everybody who he's fighting was knocking him out. Like it's just gonna be an issue like Tua, like a bum ankle, whatever, where every time, because I don't think either of these hits were anywhere near outrageous to me. So I think there was concussion zero that we don't even know about,
and he might be physically predisposed to it, right? Like not everybody's brain and skull structure and all of that is the same.
Look, we shall see. And my man, what's up, Bazemore? Double down on your point to say if indeed he signed a waiver, like what is the enforceability? There needs to be capacity. If we're thinking about what an enforceable contract is, you have to have the capacity in order to enter into a contract. So if we're saying that he had cognitive damage before he signed it, absolutely, there was no contract. It's a requirement to even have an agreement. I don't even think that the Miami Dolphins would have presented him with such. I think the Miami Dolphins took advantage. Here's a no-brainer to me. I think the Miami Dolphins took advantage of, the leopard having his stripes, right? Is that or spots. Leopard has spots. Leopard having his spots, because they knew that Tua wanted to play. That's how Tua was able to get back into the game last week. That's how they were able to overcome Tua looking into anything beyond the facility as to how his concussion would impact him, such that he didn't enter into a concussion protocol for the week, and how he ended up on the field last night.
But the main thing is,
go ahead.
No, but I was gonna say, but just to underscore the point, and then you can continue. Like they said, it was a back injury. We just watched that replay. I've never seen a back injury.
Don King was.
Yeah, like I've never seen a bobblehead because of a back injury. So like, I just want to be clear. Like if we're gonna, we could talk about all of the nuance to this, but they clearly covered something up to get him back in the game, which is to your point about the protect the shield, protect the profit, keep going. Because that's the indicator that like this wasn't about his safety, right? Like nobody could. I'm not a doctor, but I know that's not a back injury.
Look, on the other side, on the corporate side, the corporate greed side, the big bad shield, the NFL itself, they have called it a no-brainer that there's an assumption of risk and a presumed risk that you take in order to play this sport. And the truth of the matter is that the assumption of risk does not include things that we can't even fathom, like CTE. The truth of the matter is assumption of risk does not require you also to sign a waiver in order to play because you don't know the long-term damage. And yet the NFL has done that repeatedly. I doubt that there's any waiver that they have related to concussions because of the lawsuit. And because of the court of public opinion related to CTE, the movies and things related to it. But that the NFL would allow you to sign a waiver for any body part is
True.
crazy.
I'll give you that. True.
Right? Like, what are we doing here?
The brain.
The brain would be significantly worse. But even T.O.'s leg, like at some point, you know, let's call it what it is. The big bad NFL, the no-brainer here to me is that the business is, to them in their corporate space, far more important than the people that it utilizes in order to create a business. And having been one of those people, being friends and brothers with guys that have been a part of what generates the revenue for the NFL, it feels shitty.
But
But
let's not talk about it as if these players are not also businesses making business decisions, right? Like I'm with you, but at the same time, like if I walk into a situation and I say, well, I want the bag or I have the competitive drive or whatever my personal motivation is, if I make a business decision for my organization as the CEO, being a professional athlete making multi-million dollars per year, I'm also a business, right? And so if I sign away the liability of my partner in the joint venture, then like I have to own that, right? So T.O. decided to sign that. So yeah, the company or the corporation of the NFL or the franchise, yeah, maybe there should be some level of ethics and protection of the players. But at the same time, the players, if they forego those protections, how are you going to hold anybody accountable? That's the whole purpose of a liability waiver.
But when
right?
it came to the concussion thing, with the whole new concussion like format and what we were going to do about the protocol, it was supposed to be an impartial third party evaluation, right? It was supposed to be somebody coming in to protect you and protect you from the organization. Is that correct? I mean, they were supposed to have somebody. I think
that is during the week when they're deciding where you are
within that whole realm, though. You can't just pull them out and say, all right, we're going to sign this little waiver. If you put your little name right here, we can just slide your ass back out there. That's like there's whoever thought that window dressing they put out there for all of us so we would stop saying to kill the well, now I would never say that. But people say kill the NFL, let's not do football anymore. We said we're going to have a third party or whatever. You can't do that and then also have a waiver. Like that's disgusting.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And we
not
should
for
also
your brain. For your leg, again, you can live a long life with a limp. A long life with the fake leg. You can do that. I'm not saying minimizing it to those people suffering like that, but I'm just saying we got two legs, right? We can do it. When that brain goes, that's it.
We should also say that the concept of a waiver, we just made that up. So we don't know if there was a waiver involved.
And we all
when it
argue
comes to
fighting about it. Dogs barking over it. Yeah, it's funny.
When it comes to your point, ETP, which I respect and I absolutely acknowledge that when you sign the waiver in the TO situation, right, you've decided as a business, a personal business within the construct of the corporation NFL that it's worth it. I would say this though. I don't know what happened with ETP. I would say this to that point.
Real quick.
That's how the entire labor movement started.
Yeah.
That's how it started, because big bad corporations versus individual workers. The labor movement started because we understood that the leverage was so one-sided. Mm-hmm. The truth of the matter is, and I know that the NFLPA has put something out on this topic and said that they want to protect the safety of its player. The truth of the matter is that there really is no true labor movement within the NFL. The union itself is just, it's weak compared to the business that is the NFL. We've seen it in every regard. The most powerful thing that they've done has been related to some of the concussion stuff. But the truth of the matter is that, you know, a player, based on their circumstances, and I won't go down that rabbit hole, but when entering into these contracts, I would even say that the player contract itself, players have been playing for a discount forever. When entering into some sort of waiver agreement, players have been doing that forever, because the balance of power and entering into these contracts is so one-sided. They would call it unconscionable when they looked at some of these agreements, if you think of the risk that the players are taking and the compensation that they are being paid for it. And it's just so one-sided that you would hope the concept of the labor movement, how unions started trying to change that balance of power, that our union, the NFLPA, I'll say our, would have a little more teeth and a little more bite, but they just don't. They don't, and they never have. And people have blamed it on individuals, whether it be Gene Upshaw, or did they blamed it on individuals as to why the union doesn't have any power. But the truth is that they never have. And DeMaurice has done a good job of getting on TV and using a bullhorn and crying out for the players' causes. But I don't know that the balance has shifted any more than it ever has, right? We're the same. I mean, unbalanced situation with unconscionable agreements.
It's better than it was. The fact that we're having, spending half the time on the show with the outrage here, which 10, 20 years ago, we probably would have been like, oh, did you see that? No one we talking about the scariness of it. We were all in awe of the big, it wasn't a big hit, but if it would have been a big hit, it would have been something different.
Right.
But I mean, I think society is just changing. I mean, when I was playing football 7,000 years ago, when the leather helmet just came out, I lived and died by the horse collar. Lived and died. That's how I tackle people. I'm not fast enough to catch you guys, so I would grab you and snatch you down. And that was how I would do it. Nobody ever broke their leg. I still think they're going a little too overboard with the danger of the horse collar. But when you see the reaction to a horse collar now on the sideline, it's as if it's the way that we reacted to a face mask, right? They can't believe, oh my God, a horse collar. I can't believe he did that. I'm thinking that's how you tackle people. When you hit someone helmet to helmet, we celebrated that. They released the highlights on the NFL for the longest time. Now, helmet to helmet, we treat the person like he brought a knife onto the field, right? So we are getting better. And this is one of those times when we have to hammer home that you're not going to regress, right? We're hammering home what you just did with Tua. Shame on you. What are we doing? Everybody be outraged. Everyone go off. And now we got to tighten up some more. And that's why, they say you got to teach history, right? So it doesn't repeat itself. But hold on, man. We're going the wrong direction. But I think we're doing better. In general, for the sport, I think we're doing better. As a guy who has a son who comes across the middle, I can sleep a little better at night knowing that somebody's not going to be coming at him with a missile with his head down and stay and live to play another play. It's not going to happen to him twice in the same game.
Look, I sent you guys the neurologist who sent the tweet and basically said that, the Dolphins should be on the hook for murder charges or attempted murder charges. And while you think it's extreme, I think that's how you make sure that history doesn't repeat itself. You have to be extreme. So I don't know where this is going to go. Our thoughts and prayers, and we probably should have started with that, but we'll end with it. our thoughts and prayers go to Tua and his family, because while we all cringed watching it, you can imagine a family member that's in Hawaii watching it and just how unsettled they are today, not knowing what the outcome will be. So it's a no-brainer, if you will. We'll end the segment by saying our thoughts and prayers go with him and his family, and we'll see how this plays out. Talking about this game, we also should at least include, on a much lighter note, what did you think about the Bengals uniform? I like the Dolphins uniform too. What they used to call that bright, what were the Thursday night games?
Color rush.
Color rush. All right. This was not color, but all white. It was a white tiger look. What did you guys think about it? I'll start with you, Big Flow Show. Did you like the look at the swag? What did you think about the uniform?
I mean, I'm not really a Bengals uniform fan in general, but that was sweet. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? The normal Bengals uniform is like, that came out nice. I think that worked out. They might want to go and hold on to that for their home jerseys.
Hold on to it, right? ETP, what do you think? What are you giving it? Because, you know, we are the sports fashion police. What we giving this?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, and maybe it's too early. It's like, you know, calling a drafted rookie, you know, the next GOAT. But I'm going to say this is the best football uniform in the NFL I've ever seen. Like, this is the best football uniform in the history of the NFL. And I hope that the design team reverses this whole thing for the away, and it's black on with white stripes, and just make it mean. Like, go all out.
Just get rid of the orange. Just leave that as a little accent.
Yeah, like have the little like orange hits, but turn this whole thing, invert the whole thing, black with the white stripes. Well, that, you know, package is killer.
Technically, like, they already made the reversal because they were the home team last night, yet they wore the white jerseys.
I know.
And in the NFL, normally you wear the dark jerseys at home, but they told Miami, nah, y'all get y'all, what is that? The turquoise. Y'all go in turquoise, and we gonna go in white. I do like the uniform. It's cold-blooded. That is cold-blooded. It looks like a real tiger. And look, they needed a win. They came
zebra
out
cakes, baby. For those who like snacks. Shout out to my older brother tuning in.
That's what used to take your zebra snacks. That's why he put that was a subtle message.
You see, that shit didn't last that long because I got a hold of my zebra cakes now.
Yeah, I mean, he used to make sure you didn't get your bike back, take your zebra cakes. But we appreciate you, man.
You could do a whole show on how my brother used to bully me.
Used to bully you, and it made you better.
All this size is swelling. But
let's hop into some more quarterback news, because we start with Tua, but I do think that, first of all, hats off to Teddy Bridgewater for coming in and playing well. I think he'll do a good job. They have a serviceable backup quarterback, and although he had a late interception to essentially seal the game for the Bengals, I think the Dolphins are in good hands.
Do it your other way. Do it your other way. Do it your other way.
Let there be light. The Dolphins are in good hands. But there are some other quarterbacks we're going to talk about. The first one is Lamar Jackson. Because we're talking about these injuries, and you say it can happen on any play. Lamar Jackson is still playing with the unsettled reality that he ain't got his payday yet. What does Lamar Jackson do now? Looking at that incident last night, knowing that he plays in a way that he becomes a runner a lot of times, they don't protect the runner. Right? A quarterback, when you have decided to run, is out of the quarterback category and doesn't have the same protections. Lamar Jackson plays that way. Lamar Jackson is also having an MVP-like season. And I would imagine that, you know, the Ravens aren't even on the radar without Lamar Jackson. He is the heartbeat of that team. He makes them competitive in every game. But by doing so, he takes risks. Watching that last night, what do you do with Lamar Jackson today in terms of your contract?
I think as soon as practice is over, you walk in there and say, listen, evening news starts at 6. The story's either going to be that Lamar's not playing Sunday or Lamar signed a new contract. Hopefully, I don't have to travel. Hopefully, it's a
choice.
home game. So it's your choice. But at 6 o'clock, somebody gonna have something to say about Lamar Jackson, right? And I would just walk the hell up out of there. I see what happened to Tua because he plays more physical game than Tua does. I mean, he's rushing for all those yards, whatever. The risk to him is amazing, but I'm not risking it one more time. You got till 6.
And to me, that's a no-brainer. Lamar Jackson, the no-brainer here is like, yo, bro, things have changed. I'm sorry. The price went up. Yesterday's prices are not today's prices. Multiply that significantly when you add the risk of injury. Watching a guy like Tua go down and being carted off on a stretcher
with no thumbs up, no foot wiggle, nothing.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say if the same thing. I don't even want to say. I don't even put that in the universe. But let's not that injury, but any injury. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say if there's a serious injury that Lamar Jackson sustains prior to getting the money, the Baltimore Ravens, because this is a business and it's a no-brainer. And at that point, they're not on the hook. They're not obligated to pay him. It's a no-brainer that he never gets his money. So I got to go with you on this one. I know Lamar Jackson doesn't have an agent. He's representing himself. So we're just going to give you unsolicited advice. I am going to go on the same path that the Big Flow show went down and say, go in that office, dog, and say you done. You're done until you get paid, because last night watching the game and seeing one of my fellow quarterbacks, it did something to me. And I don't know if I can play anymore. And I think the only thing that will work is if that direct deposit hit and I get them mills.
But y'all, I mean, it's not like they weren't trying to get a deal done, right? Like they've been trying to get a deal done with him for 2 years. And I understand now it's like I believe it's about the guaranteed money, because the Cleveland Browns, as they do, ruined the party for everybody. And the Deshaun Watson $230 million guaranteed. And obviously when you play, with reckless abandon, as Lamar Jackson does at a very elite level, that's an investment that you might not be prepared to make because the risk of loss, right? So as a team, it's hard to say, yeah, I'm going to guarantee you this money. However, the man is playing like video game football. He's like Michael Vick on $1 million at a level where it's never been seen, right? He's outperforming like 30 of the offense, 29 or 30 of the offenses in the league.
Crazy.
He has more touchdowns than 30 teams by himself, right?
Yep.
So, but at the same time, a deal could be done. The idea that he's playing without a net right now, this is the last year of his contract. Career earnings is like $30 million, and he's already won the MVP, and he's not sitting down at the table to make a deal. Like, that's not going to happen today because somebody got a concussion. There's clearly just a breakdown in the negotiation that there has to be some level of responsibility on his side. Because it's like, I mean, if you're Baltimore, they designed the entire organization on the field offensively around this man's skill set. The entire offense is designed for Lamar Jackson. So the idea that like they're just not paying him, I don't think that that's the full narrative. And I don't understand why they can't come to an agreement, because there's been plenty of reports where it's like, well, Lamar Jackson doesn't want to talk about it anymore. Lamar Jackson is putting it on hold. We don't have a deal. The Ravens are ready to make a deal. He's not protecting his business in the right way in whatever capacity, because he could go to free agency and then say, all right, who wants to pay me $300 million guaranteed? I'm taking calls, and then we'll see what happens. But he's betting on himself by doing that.
If that's the case, he's got a fool for a customer or for a client, because I mean, take that money, baby. You want to go unless he has a team that he wants to, unless he wants out of Baltimore, like definitely wants out of Baltimore.
Yeah.
I mean, the sweepstakes would be ridiculous, but the risk is ridiculous too.
I just and I hear you, ETP. I just think that there are sensitivities to certain things that even the Baltimore Ravens, who, like you said, have tried. They have tried. They have given him iterations of what could be a very good contract, and we don't know it. Well, we think we know it's the guaranteed money that the only thing that they are not settled on is the guaranteed money. But I just think that the sensitivity of the moment and watching Tua go down and knowing that that's the position that he plays and knowing that both of them have the propensity to, with Tua less so than Lamar Jackson, is to pull the ball down and run. I just think that this is the time that you go in and say, look, man, it's either now or never. I'm putting my feet up. I have done all the right things when it comes to on the field playing this position for this team. And now I've decided that because of the risk inherent in the sport, the ones that I got to see bear out last night, I'm not going to put my family and my future in jeopardy without getting the money. And
but
just go sit
he
out.
got injured himself. He got injured himself and did not have that sense of urgency. Has not had that sense of urgency. So why do we think that all of a sudden this incident is going to change his entire negotiation strategy to actually come to terms? Like, where does the sense of urgency come now? So the sense of urgency might come from him, but now the sense of urgency from Baltimore has receded because they're like, you know what? This might be even riskier than we anticipated to begin with. So we're not necessarily going to be throwing as much money as we were willing to throw before this happened.
You have a point, but I think that the point you made prior to that and the numbers that he's putting up and the fact that it is a business that is enhanced by wins says to me, if I had to gauge who has the upper hand here, it's still Lamar Jackson, right? Because without Lamar Jackson right now, putting up, like you said, Tecmo Bowl numbers, the Baltimore Ravens are terrible without him.
Right.
Terrible.
Right.
So I don't know, man. I think to me, it's a no-brainer. Lamar Jackson, move now, bro. Move now. Or don't play. Those are the things. Move, sign it or don't play. That's what I would say. So maybe he doesn't get ultimately what he wants, which, in a great negotiation, everyone feels as though they lost a little bit. But either sign it now, get as much guaranteed money as you can, or stop playing. But you can't be on the fence, not in this climate, not after seeing what we saw with Tua last night. To me, that's the no-brainer.
But he should have done that 3 weeks ago. But he should have done that 3 weeks ago. Like, he should have done that before the season started. So
I think what he was thinking, again, just like Tua and any boxer, after being knocked out, I'm going to go do what I do because this is what I do. The same thing is true with Lamar Jackson, especially without a formidable agent in his corner telling him, yo, man, that you shouldn't take that risk. Lamar Jackson is doing what he does. He's going out and he's making plays. And he's probably thinking, man, shoot, if I was worth XYZ before the season start, wait till I go out and play my butt off. Watch what I'll be worth then. And to a certain degree, he's done that and he's right. But injury does not give you a warning. It's not like a hurricane. You know it's coming. They let you board up the freaking house and get out of town. And everybody gotta evacuate. No, injury it's unannounced, and the severity of the injury, you don't know what it's gonna be. So I would just plead with the brother, man. Broward County's finest, either get paid now, ink it, let it dry, or stop playing.
It's wild though. Like his mom is apparently the key piece of this, like the idea that your own mom is like, nah, let's hold out. Let's gamble.
No, mom is kind of, mom is normally conservative. Go, hey, take this money. You'll be okay.
You better take that money while you can.
You know how many cans of sardines we could get with that boy.
But though, we say this though. It's not like you say his earnings so far has been $30 million.
About 30 million, yeah.
30 buys a little bit, don't it? I mean, like he's not poor. He doesn't live in an apartment complex. So sometimes when you have money like that, if he never makes another dime, he never has to work again, right?
It's relative, man. It's relative.
It's relative. What I'm saying is like, it's one thing where they're like, all right, you could get this check for $1 billion if you pick this out of a fishbowl or nothing. Be like, it's like it's not like he's risking it all. He is paid right now. He's got some bread right now. I couldn't do it. I like to split pots in poker. You know what I mean? I'm one of those kind of guys. I like to go home with that. hey, let me give you something right now. I will never sell a stock at its 52-week high, because when it gets to close to that, I'm done. That's me.
But do the math. Like 2 seasons have gone by, right? Like he made in his first 3 seasons, he made, including signing bonus, like $5 million without doing the specific math. Right. I'm talking total $5 million in 3 seasons. If he had signed a deal 2 seasons ago, so he'll have $30 million over 4 years, right?
Right.
If he had signed a deal before last season and an extension and restructured his deal and was making 30, 40, he'd already be 60 up, right? Like 50, 60 up. And then whatever the deal is moving forward.
So he wants to get
so
paid
he's already left that money on the table.
So that's why he's trying to recoup it. But
he's trying to recoup that.
Yeah, but he's continuously losing the long-term value of his contract.
I hear you. B hears you. Even Tua might hear you. But Lamar, he can't hear what you're trying to talk about.
He can't hear what you're saying right
it's
now.
It's silly. He worried about this guarantee money when he was not willing to negotiate when he was like this year. He makes $23 million because his contract, the rookie contract, he makes $23 million this year. Last year he made like $1.5 million or something ridiculous. So with signing bonus, he made 1.7 base and a 1.2 signing bonus. So he basically made $3 million last year and still couldn't sit at the negotiation table and get a deal done. Like that, how do you negotiate with somebody? You can't negotiate with somebody like that.
Well, hey, to your point, I'm not saying that that's going to change. What I'm saying is if you're not going to negotiate it, stop playing. If you're not going to sign the deal, but
that's a negotiation tactic that you're saying. That's a negotiation
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if you're going to play hardball, play it the right way. You're playing hardball in a very soft way because you're going out there risking injury. And what I'm saying is that it is clear. It is crystal clear that the Baltimore Ravens are not even an NFL team without that man under center. Stop playing, dog, because the third option C, is that you mess around and get hurt. And that one to me would just be tragic. So that's the no-brainer to me, is that something's got to give. You are officially at an impasse. You can't get the deal done? Cool, man. Hey, come watch the games with me, my brother. I got beer. I got a spot on the couch. But don't keep going out there risking injury if you're not going to get the deal done. Let's hop into another quarterback, Brett Favre, because more allegations. It seems that it was a white-collar crime. But my thing is this, and we're going to get in and out of this one quickly. It just seems as though we're not hearing enough about the details of the situation, maybe because the investigation is still underway and there's still, not enough certainty as to what is fact and what is fiction. But, and again, I don't want to make everything about black and white, but the memes that have come out that have talked about, we heard more about Jameis Winston's crab leg, the burglary ring, than we have Brett Favre. The memes that we have seen talking about how Michael Vick went to jail, did hard time, and essentially lost his career because of a dog fighting ring that he was a very, very, very small part of. But indeed, because of the people he was around and family and doing stuff at his house, he was a part of. But we heard every centimeter of detail when it came to that. And you compare that to Brett Favre, I'm starting to feel as though those memes have a little more meat on the bone than just laughing at him. And it feels as though Brett Favre, while I love Brett Favre, I said it last week, he's a good guy, good player, someone who, I had a pleasure of knowing. And so I don't have anything, personal to say negative about him. I think he's a good man. But the truth of the matter is that, it seems as though there's a different approach to this than Mike Vick, a different approach to this than Jameis Winston. And people have pointed it out because black quarterbacks, more than anybody, have been scrutinized. And here's Brett Favre, which is, Hall of Famer, top of the list of what you would think of as a gunslinger, one of the best to ever do it. And yet defrauding a welfare fund.
The largest in the history of the state, the largest fraud case in the history of financial
and
fraud.
So much evidence that he knew it was wrong. He knew it would be bad. He wanted to make sure he was covered. All the text messages come out. But again, if we're screaming white privilege, white people should be screaming white privilege because I don't know any other white quarterbacks that get what Brett Favre's gotten. He sent all the dick pics out. Nothing even happened. No big deal. Not even a little blip. Hey, boys will be boys. I don't know too many people that can do that.
They're still doing what's the product?
Isaiah Thomas was able to do that and still.
Isaiah Thomas had pictures of Dolan. I'm certain that Isaiah had pictures of Dolan. But what's the Copperfield? Copperfield. You still see Brett Favre Copperfield commercials?
Oh, not Coppertone.
Coppertone. No,
whatever it is, the little thing with the knee sleeves. So I'm seeing him, and that's
endorsement.
An endorsement. That's the same
so
thing with Urban
Brett
Meyer.
Favre would get passes,
but Urban Meyer too. We talked about it last week. Urban Meyer has one of the best jobs on TV right now with that. He's on there with
and they're talking about
Bush,
bringing him into University of Nebraska. They want to bring him back on the college campus.
So look, man, it's a no-brainer that in this world there are still two different, whether it be official judicial systems or unofficial judicial systems in the court of public opinion. There are two different systems. That's a no-brainer. Copperfit. That's what it's called. I said Copperfield. Sorry,
Copperfield. I was like, David Copperfield.
David Copperfield making some stuff.
Yeah, but Brett Favre he's on the upper crust.
Yeah.
There's this side, there's that side, and then there's that side. He over there.
Yeah.
He doing every. Trump said he could shoot somebody in the face and not lose a fan. He was talking about.
No, he said he could shoot somebody on the face on Fifth Avenue, in the middle of Fifth Avenue, broad daylight, and not lose
a fan. And Brett Favre said, "Hold my beer."
Hold my beer. And Urban Meyer.
Hold my beer.
The fact that an entire university, a fan base, is screaming for Urban Meyer. When I watch something on ESPN, I'm like, "Yo, Teflon, do it, homie, do it." But there are two different judicial systems, unofficially and officially, in this country, and that's a no-brainer. Let's hop into Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge finally tied the record. I'm not a big baseball fan, but I was watching closely, and then I guess it was a no-brainer that eventually he was going to get to that number. It seemed like he was pressing a bit in the 2 or 3 previous games trying to get there, but he finally tied the record, and this is a big record. I mean, and look, if you're a Yankee, man, it's like, there's certain names that when you say them, the big deal. Maris being a big name and Aaron Judge tying it. Aaron Judge is now in the elite of the elite when it comes to Yankees, and that's basically the elite of elite when it comes to baseball. Shout out to him. Congratulations to him. Wanted to at least mention that he did.
The Lamar Jackson of Major League Baseball. He does not have a contract at the end of this season. He will be a free agent. Could not finalize his contract. So the price today's price
baseball
is not yesterday's
price.
Thing
is not nearly as great. So he could just hold out. Every home run is $1 million.
Yeah. If Aaron Judge had Lamar Jackson's money, he would wake up and apologize. Don't you ever mention them two in the same name. I know that Lamar gonna get paid, but Aaron Judge about to get the type of money. Aaron Judge about to get the type of money that he gonna have. His great grandkids gonna still be living off the.
I don't know that it's gonna be that much more. I mean, he'll get like $300 million. That's
over 2 years.
I mean, yeah, over 2 years.
with a
$40 million signing bonus.
Nah, he's gonna make way more. He's gonna make way more.
How? I mean, the highest paid. The highest paid Major League Baseball player right now makes $43 million a year on a 3-year deal. That's Max Scherzer, pitcher for the Mets. So the idea that he's gonna, Aaron Judge is 30.
Say it again. Hold on.
Max
My
Scherzer
ear's not working on this side. What?
Makes $43 million a year. It was a 3-year, $130 million deal.
Yeah, he's saying per year.
A little short payout. Just give me a little short-term contract. Give me like $125 million.
So Aaron Judge is 30 years old.
Come on.
Yeah.
He's not a pitcher. But obviously he leads the league. He leads at least the American League in 12 categories. So not just a home run record.
How many categories?
Triple Crown, 12 statistical categories. But that aside,
how many statistical categories are there?
Yeah, I don't know, but you start reading 13, it looks like the periodic table is like WAR, ACR, RC minus plus. I can't keep track of it all. But they're saying that he's not just going for the Triple Crown. It's the quadruple Triple Crown. because
Right.
he's in 12 statistical categories. But money wise, he's 30 years old. If he signs, what's he going to sign? A 10-year deal? If he signs a 10-year deal, they'd be crazy. The Yankees are not going to sign him on a 10-year deal. So what's he going to get? A 6-year deal?
Probably 5-6-year deal, but the average.
How much are you going to pay him on per year? You're going to pay him $60 million?
I don't know. Here's the two things.
How much are you going to pay him? I'm saying if we want to say he's going to get $400 million, like let's do the math.
I think it's going to be close to $400 million.
Okay, so 5 years, that would have to be $80 million a year.
It's going to be close. It's probably going to be around $75 million a year, which is crazy.
Why would the New York Yankees? So then he's not going to play for the Yankees. He's going to go to Seattle or the Angels or somewhere else that just unloads a bag.
But that's the whole purpose of why we're in this position. It
will never happen. $75 million a year.
I think it's going to be up there because he's done what no one else. He's taken baseball. The fact that I'm even talking about baseball on the show, I don't like baseball, but I'm following Aaron Judge. I'm watching baseball because of him now.
$300 million a year, $300 million contract in the Bronx is a $400 million contract anywhere else.
Agreed.
Else.
Agreed. If he wants to stay in New York, he's going to take less money.
I'm saying the premium on being the face of the New York Yankees.
You're right.
Is worth probably more monetarily than $100 million over 5 years.
I agree with you there, but here's the biggest difference between the two.
You got to do to get that.
But here's the difference between the two.
You got to shave. What's the difference?
Here's the difference between the two: Lamar and Aaron. Lamar is fighting for the part of his contract that is guaranteed. Whatever Aaron Judge signs is guaranteed. And to me, there lies the biggest difference. And that's why Lamar is where he's at, right? And we'll see how successful he is in fighting for more in the guaranteed category. But I just think it's they're playing with different kind of money over there, man. Not to mention if he remains in the Bronx. Not to mention if he remains in the Bronx. Let's not even get into the whole, what that is worth and how much more money he would make off the field, off the diamond, or off the baseball field, right? But I just think that those are two different categories. A good problem to have on both sides. But
you're talking about potentially doubling the highest annual salary in the league for somebody that only gets up to bat 3 times, 4 times.
On a per year basis, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that's the kind of those are the numbers that we're gonna be working with on a per year basis. Because if he only did 5 years in baseball terms, that's not a long deal. There are deals that are significantly long.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Trout signed, I think, like a 10 or 12-year deal, $37 million a year. Like that was unprecedented. That was outlandish. That was intergalactic money. You're talking about doubling that.
Yeah.
Doubling it.
We haven't had this much attention, and what we should have probably done, we could do next week.
Baseball should pay him, not just
this is where sports business and entertainment collide. We can look at over the last week plus, last 10 days. Let's just look at the uptick in viewership of baseball. We haven't had a sizable uptick in viewership in baseball related to one particular event since Sosa and McGuire. We haven't had a single person with us chasing a record that has created this much response to baseball in so long.
But that's because he's in New York. Like Shohei Ohtani almost pitched a no-hitter yesterday, and he's got almost 40 home runs, and nobody's talking. I mean, baseball has a marketing issue.
And Pujols just hit 700 home runs.
Pujols hit 700 home runs, and the Dodgers won 107 games.
All
of this stuff is like amazing. It's amazing material.
Back page stories,
right?
And the center of all baseball attention is on Aaron Judge,
right? So 2 things. One, this gives Major League Baseball the opportunity to try to like celebrate a clean record and try to dismiss like the fact that they're acting like he broke this record. There's 12 more home runs you got to hit, brother. Like you can't like if you want to talk
right?
73. But they're like they're using this as like this is the record. This is the record. Fine. But put Aaron Judge, put him on the Minnesota Twins. See how much of a TV moment this is.
Maybe. Maybe, but if
Barry
the
Bonds
Yankees are smart, he'll never make it to the Minnesota Twins.
It is funny because don't you feel like they kind of, everyone hates Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds is the opposite of Brett Favre. Would we agree with that? Like, gets nothing. Like, they hate his guts.
Too extreme.
Like, they are
Everyone
acting
does.
like he broke like Barry Bonds doesn't have a record that's way higher than that. They're like, oh, he's got the AL record. Okay, we'll take that away. Let's talk about the whole record. It's like I haven't even heard Barry Bonds mentioned. They only talk about Roger Maris was at the game. I didn't know he was still alive. Roger Maris is at the game. He's sitting there with his mama. This is historic. What about Barry Bonds? What about his record?
Hey, that's a whole different story, man. That's a no-brainer too. But Barry Bonds gets blamed for an entire steroid era that he was just a part of. But that's another story for another day. Let's hop in quickly, man, to the next few topics before I get out of here. The first one is the LeBron no-brainer of making money in pickleball. If there's any player that's going to make money on an expansion of paddle sports in the country, it's got to be LeBron. And LeBron, in his infinite wisdom, has now decided to invest in pickleball. Pickleball, if you've done any research the last several years, it's been this amazing uptick in interest and influence of pickleball, suburbs across America,
all
different leagues. And here is LeBron deciding to invest in it. We said this before, but is LeBron the current version of, like, he is Magic Johnson in terms of his business acumen within sport? He finds business opportunities that other people don't. And shout out to him, man. I know we've got one LeBron sycophant among the three of us, the disciple himself, the Big Flow Show. So I'm tipping my hat and giving a nod to your guy. But this dude, man, whether it be on the court, whether it be from his family situation, whether it be the shoe deals he's doing, and in corporate boardrooms, LeBron's a bad man, bro. So shout out to LeBron. We wanted to give him credit on this episode of No Brainer. The other person we wanted to give credit to is Lavar Ball. Lavar Ball told y'all. You must have forgot. But Lavar Ball told y'all that all three boys were going to play in the National Basketball Association. And now all three boys are in the association. Of course, you got Lonzo Ball in Chicago still dealing with some health issues. You got LaMelo Ball playing in Charlotte. And, is really balling. He's doing his thing. But now you also have Liangelo Ball. He who goes by Jello has been signed by the Hornets. And I just want to make sure that we take time to appreciate Lavar Ball, Father of the Year, in this episode of No Brainer. Lavar Ball told y'all it's a no-brainer. All three are going to be in the NBA. And then finally, never lost. But finally, we'll go home on this because I gotta get moving a bit here. The ball's in your court. We'll start with you, Big Flow Show. I know that you had to bring something to the floor. There was a certain person you wanted to make sure they understood the difference between 1.6 and 1.5. What were you talking about there, Big Flow?
This is kind of the one you're going to learn. In 2006 or 2007, I believe it was, University of Michigan decided to take on Appalachian State and pay them a little bit of money to come in. And they left 2007, they left very upset. 2017, UNLV said, let me give Howard Bisons a chance. They're going to come out here. We're going to give them a little bit of money. They left very upset.
Mm-hmm.
But now, University of Miami, they want to invite a certain team. I don't know if it's the East Tennessee, West Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, whichever one of these directional Tennessee states that they got, pay them $1.5 million. And as their coach said, hey, we came and picked up a check for $1.5 million, and they averaged 1.6 yards per carry.
Great stuff.
That's a good way not to get invited back to the barbecue. But you know what I'm just saying? This is a message, a public service announcement to the Power 5 and all the FBS teams. Stop paying people to come play you, man, because they don't get the memo. They're not taking the dive,
Absolutely.
right? They coming in here, they want the check and they want the recognition. So
And they want the recognition.
there got to be a clause in there. If you win, you only get half.
Give me half or something.
But hey, the U went down. So my man, Mr. what's his
Paul
name?
McDonough. I don't know if he's watching, but I'm gonna
McDonough.
send him this clip.
Paul McDonough, man, take that lump like a man. I told you it was gonna be Texas A&M. I didn't even know Middle Tennessee State was coming for you, but just go ahead and hide, man. Go back
Middle
and hide.
Tennessee State. And gentlemen, we lost to Middle Tennessee State. On this episode of No Brainer, man, we're gonna close out with that. Why not? Because the U came up short, so that's a good way to end this show of the No Brainer. We are still praying for the victims of Hurricane Ian. We are praying for Tua and his recovery. And we ask you guys humbly, like we do every week, please like, please comment, please share, please tag a friend, please tag a foe, please tag anybody that you know, and please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. The whole crew was here. We had the Big Flow Show in the building. We had ETP Ellis, the producer, in the building for the No Brainer episode of the Ball Hog Sports Talk, where sports, business, and entertainment collide. I got to be in this seat at the Montclair State University Athletic Hall of Fame room. I am your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, a.k.a. Mr. Excessive Celebration, a.k.a. Baresi. Catch us next Friday as we record the Ball Hog Sports Talk, because the No Brainer episode is officially over. And with that, we is out. Peace.